Tonight, Charles III crowned UK King. This being the first British coronation in 70 years.
We should therefore look forward to higher and more intensive cooperation between UK and Kenya and within the Commonwealth.
What does the coronation mean to Kenya?
Wasipokubaliana hapo, sisi tunarudi kwa kiwanja.
We want them to come and speak to our MPs in Parliament, whatever issues that are there, provided they are not in violation of the Constitution.
Also tonight, DP Rigathi Gachagua and Azimio leader Raila Odinga in a bitter exchange of words over their bipartisan talks. Plus, exhumation of bodies at the Shakahola forest has resumed.
Sisi tumesema tunataka hii maneno ichunguzwe vizuri.
Raila Odinga now threatening to move to court to stop the appointment of Commission of Inquiry to probe Shakahola deaths. Good evening once more. Dodanyama is on the sign language interpretation. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyirungita. On the tail end of this particular bulletin, we'll be having a one-on-one conversation with the one and only Hassan Mwanawa Ali on basically his entire journalism career, to get to know what should we do as a journalist, really. Now, King Charles III has taken the reins of power following his coronation as the King of the United Kingdom. The UK portraying itself to the world as a powerful, well-organized and exhibiting their orderliness and royalties. And as reported in Otieno reports, it was pomp and color at the coronation ceremony, from golden chariots to a diamond crescent crown and a traditional throne. King Charles' coronation portraying an opulent nation. Take a look.
As conspicuous as a peacock in a poultry farm, the King's Guard will be very hard to miss across the streets of Trafalgar Square, Whitehall, Parliament Square and the Westminster Abbey as they glistened one of the most important days in the United Kingdom's history, the coronation of King Charles III. Their traditional military regalia showcasing their orderliness as a unit, perhaps communicating the well-organized security apparatus in the region as they march to Westminster Abbey, where the heir to the throne will wear the crown. Soon after, leaders from across the world will make their way to the Westminster Abbey, led by USA First Lady Jill Biden and her daughter, and they will take their seats, awaiting for the royal family to arrive from Buckingham Palace as the choir entertained them to some classical music. Royalty was in full display as a golden chariot was seen making its way from the Buckingham Palace, carrying the King and Queen of England in a procession that made its way to the venue of coronation, while they powerfully waved to the masses that had gathered across the Mall Street, which was draped with England's flags and other flags of the United Kingdom, to spectate the magnificent ceremony. Members of the royal family arrived at the Westminster Abbey before the King as they displayed the aspect of family as a unit, led by Prince William and his family. However, Prince Harry was spotted alone in the ceremony. The regalia, however, was akin to the traditional military outfit full of stars and medals. While being coronated and declared king, the most crucial bit of the ceremony, the crowning of the king, once again exhibited absolute opulence, since a closer look at the crown and one will begin to notice large crystals of diamonds lacing it, while all who gathered at the Westminster Abbey chanted in unison for a successful monarch.
God save the King. God save King Charles. Long live King Charles.
King Charles III sat on a traditional throne that had inscriptions on it and will invoke imaginations over the many generations that have run the United Kingdom since time immemorial.
God save the King!
God save the King! Despite the colorful ceremony, a pocketful of protesters were against the king's coronation and chanted against the monarch in peaceful demonstrations that were, however, and unfortunately, overshadowed by the event that was followed by millions of people across the world. Dennis Otieno, TV 47.
And still on the grandiose ceremony, King Charles III coronation is momentous in every aspect, especially for nations that signed up for the Commonwealth membership, in which Kenya is a member state. Pundits say Kenya is set to benefit greatly under King Charles III rule, especially economic empowerment and the health sector. Reporter Paul Kirobi dissects through the King's coronation and its benefits to Kenyans.
After 70 years of leadership of the late Queen Elizabeth II, who died last year, King Charles III has taken up the throne in a colorful ceremony that took place at the Westminster Abbey Globe. Britain is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and Kenya, which is a member of the Commonwealth nation, is likely to gain in terms of diplomacy and policies. For some, it's an affirmation of the lasting friendship that binds Britain and its former colonies. But for majority, the news of the King Charles III coronation is met with apathy and hostility. According to former Principal Secretary of Foreign Affairs Ambassador Boaz Mbaya, there are so many opportunities that Kenya can get in terms of governance, trade, and even balancing the economy of the country.
So there are opportunities, and I think it is important for us to look at what opportunities would accrue from the installation of King Charles. But I don't think it will be as a result of his coronation alone. It is in the context in which we can benefit and also collaborate, both bilaterally as well as at multilateral levels.
Queen Elizabeth II ascended to the throne in 1952 on the steps of State House, Nairobi, then known as Government House, after the colonial governor Sir Philip Michel read the proclamation that saw the young princess become Queen Elizabeth II.
And as a result, Kenya benefited greatly through training. Our early diplomats were trained within the Commonwealth system, and I think I'm proud to say that Kenya benefited quite greatly from that.
President William Ruto attended the historic event at Westminster Abbey.
Despite the splendor of the occasion, it has not been without controversy. Some people have already objected to millions of pounds of taxpayers' money being spent on such a lavish ceremony. Paul Kirobi, TV 47.
Right, thank you for that, Paul Kirobi. Now back home, the search and exhumation of bodies from the Shakahola forest in Malindi, Kilifi County resumed today with homicide detectives conducting the exercise. The exercise was suspended following heavy rains witnessed in the area. Evidence probe into the cult leader Paul Mackenzie intensifies. It is alleged that more than 100 victims died after starving themselves to death in order to see God. Here is Gilbert Nalwa with the story.
A day after the completion of the post-mortem and DNA test on the bodies exhumed from the Shakahola forest in Kilifi County, the exhumation process that had been stopped due to unfavorable weather pattern has today resumed under tight security. The process, however, is being carried out in the absence of the media and human rights activists who have been barred from accessing the location after it was marked and zoned as a scene of crime by the police, a decision that has received criticism from Azimio leader Raila Odinga.
Mimi nilikuwa Dubai niliposikia mambo ya Shakahola. Nikasikia watu wengi wamekufa huku Shakahola. Baadaye mimi nimekuja na jana nilijitokeza, niliwaambia wabunge mimi nitakuja, nataka kwenda Shakahola nione. Niliambia usiende Shakahola. Shakahola kuna shetani. Nikasema ndi sababu inatakana mimi niende nionane na hiyo shetani. Sasa mimi sikujua ya kwamba wewe unahitaji atikibali uingie pale ambayo kumekuwa na maafa.
Statistics of the affected persons indicate that most victims are young children, with child rights activists in the area together with elders condemning the incident.
Authorities have confirmed that most of the bodies being exhumed are of children as young as 18 months. We are aware that the government has the initiative to rescue Shakahola victims, and counseling has started. Consequently, we are hoping to see the affected children reintegrated back to their families soon.
The elderly persons in the area, however, want the children's rights to be prioritized, alleging that parents and guardians are supposed to look after their young ones and ensure they have access to education. The rights activists say they will give the national government necessary support to ensure churches and places of worship are regulated.
Mtoto ana haki ya chakula, ana haki ya malezi bora, ana haki ya kupata mavazi, ana haki ya kupata elimu, ana haki ya kupata kila kitu, yani kutibiwa kama ni mgonjwa.
Kwa hivyo tunajiunga na wengine kukemea jambo hili na kusema tunatumaini haitatendeka tena, na serikali pia itachukua jukumu kuona churches are regulated.
Reporting for TV47, my name.
Well, thank you for that, Gilbert and Naldo. And speaking of matters, Shakahola, tomorrow around 7 and 9 p.m. we'll be giving you a breakdown of the Shakahola massacre, courtesy of Sharon Rang, titled The Last Wedding. Stick around for that. Now, to matters politics, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has told off the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga following his demands for the reinstatement of Cherera 4 members. Speaking in Kipipiri constituency in Ndera County, Gachagua termed the opposition's demand as unachievable, urging Raila Odinga to retire from politics. And as Elizabeth Mutuku now reports, Raila insists the servers must be opened for proper scrutiny on what transpired during the August 2022 general elections.
Back and forth continues over bipartisan talks through Parliament, with leaders trading barbs over issues which are constitutionally right to be canvassed by the 14-member bipartisan committee. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua chided Azimio leader Raila Odinga over what he termed as power-sharing plea, urging him to retire.
Mimi na president hatuna sauti hii Kenya. Sisi ni wafanyikazi. Mfanyikazi anafanya vile tajiri yake anasema. Hawa watu ya Nyandarua wametuambia hakuna handshake. Sasa sisi tunaweza shindana na tajiri yetu? Hatuwezi. Tukishindana na tajiri.
Speaking in Kipipiri, Nyandarua County, Gachagua said it is impossible to honor some of Azimio Brigade and Raila Odinga's demands, like reinstating the Cherera 4 commissioners since they tendered their resignations without coercion, insisting bipartisan team and the Kenya Kwanza government can only align their demands constitutionally.
Property is unacceptable. Stopping people from going to work is unacceptable. So we want to thank the Azimio people for saying they want to talk to our MPs. We welcome them to a frank discussion. Whatever issues are disturbing them, they can address with the members of parliament. And then the members of parliament can come and tell the president and I what the issues are. In the meantime, ourselves, we are very busy. But our MPs will listen. They will listen. And once they listen, they will come and tell us. And then if it is something that can be done, we'll do it. If it's within the law, we'll do it. You know, but if it's something that we don't know, there's nothing we can do. If they say they want to open the server, ourselves, we don't know where it is.
On the same breath, Azimio leader Raila Odinga, who spoke in Cliffy County, insists opening of IBC servers remains bare minimum, daring the government to order opening of the servers for thorough scrutiny, stating that Kenyans and the world should know what happened and the truth lies in the servers.
Wale wanne walisema baba ndiye alishinda uchaguzi. Watatu ndio walisema Ruto alishinda uchaguzi. Sasa ipi ni ukweli? Hii ndio sababu tulisema tunataka ile nyungu pale matokeo yalienda ifunguliwe. Open the server. Server ifunguliwe. Unataka namna hiyo? Mnataka namna hiyo? Wangapi nataka kila saba ifunguliwe nione mkono hapa. Tukisema saba ifunguliwe, sisi hatusemi tunataka Ruto atoke. Tunataka kwani ijulikane ukweli ni ipi. Kama sisi tunasema uongo, ijulikane. Kama sisi tunasema uongo, ijulikane.
The 14-member bipartisan team resumed talks yesterday, awaiting nod on expansion of talks and on whether the talks can be held outside Parliament. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47.
Meanwhile, President William Ruto has reaffirmed Kenya's nomination of Ambassador Nancy Karugithi to the position of Secretary General to the Maritime Organization, IMO. President Ruto, in a pre-recorded address, said Karugithi is a highly accomplished maritime global expert with an experience spanning more than 30 years in the maritime industry. If endorsed for the position, Ambassador Karugithi will become the first African and woman to occupy the post since its establishment in 1958. Apollo Kamau tells us why.
Kenya's quest to stamp her authority in global affairs went a notch higher after President William Ruto reaffirmed his support for Ambassador Nancy Karugithi for the Secretary General post of the International Maritime Organization, IMO, after her name was published by the UN agency, among other 6 candidates.
In nominating Ambassador Nancy Karugithi, Kenya and the AU are presenting to the global maritime community a highly competent and qualified candidate who has immensely contributed to global maritime issues. With experience spanning over 30 years in maritime sector, Ambassador Nancy Karugithi is a highly accomplished maritime expert with proven commitment to the cause of global maritime interests.
Karugithi, who is the only African nominee after Kenya secured the African Union endorsement during a high-level coordination meeting in Lusaka, Zambia, will be the first African and a woman to contest for the maritime job since the IMO was established in 1958.
We are committed to continue playing our role, and that's why we've declared our candidacy again for re-election to IMO Category C.
In nominating her, we appreciate that no African and no woman has ever held the position of Secretary General of IMO in the 70 years of the organization's existence. With your support and vote, her election, therefore, will be an affirmative action and will lend credence to the current global momentum of inclusivity and diversity in international decision-making process.
Karugithi is seeking to replace the outgoing Secretary General Kit Lim of South Korea, who should vacate office by the 1st of January next year. Karugithi will be banking on the support of 40 member states of the IMO when they converge early next year. Ambassador Karugithi, who is currently an advisor and special envoy for maritime and blue economy, will be anchoring the new role on her expertise on global maritime affairs, spanning 3 decades. Karugithi is also credited for helping Kenya gain entry into the IMO whitelist, a coveted title that helps a country to train seafarers who can work in foreign-going vessels. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Right now to matters devolution, Kiambu County residents and leaders have welcomed an initiative by President William Ruto to ease immigration barriers, saying it will reduce unemployment in the country. According to Kiamba constituency Member of Parliament John Njuguna, the cause is a noble one, urging leaders in the area to lay down modalities of increasing the capacity of Kenyan TVETs. Residents, however, urged the Minister of Foreign Affairs to register all Kenyans who want to travel to foreign countries to protect them from abusive hosts and employers.
Bilateral ties are very important to make sure that we create more resources within our republic, and at the same time these jobs that the president is trying to create in the diasporas, so that at least we can make sure that students who are graduating, they have a place to go.
Our country will have opportunity even to export human power. We have opportunity for our people to work in different countries, and I think that is a very important step towards developing this country.
In fact, to be sincere, our vocational training centers are performing below par because they don't have equipment to train them. I'm urging the governor to make sure we equip our vocational training centers so that we can have more youths to go for training.
Kila mwananchi akienda huko, mwana youth anaenda anaandikishwa, analijistiwa, ndio serikali inajua mwana youth wetu ako kule.
Pitia milango ya nyuma, abato unaenda unapata kila kitu, unaenda pengine unataka kuenda, unapita pengine nchi za Uganda kwa milango ya nyuma, unapita mlango ingine, unaenda nchi za nje. Kwa hivyo hata hauna
Right, now to the health desk. At least 20% of children will require a surgical procedure before adulthood, among them correction of undescended testes and different types of hernia. Reporter Elizabeth Atieno now takes us as in a theatre at the Kenyatta National Hospital and now brings you the real experience of what happens during the hernia surgical procedure.
It is 2:30 p.m. at the Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi. Hundreds of patients, mostly mothers and their sons, have flooded the corridors of this facility as they seek to benefit from a 3-day annual hernia and undescended testis surgery, fully sponsored by the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF. We head straight to the main theatre. The surgical crew is ready to perform a hernia surgery on the abdomen of this 4-year-old boy. The first 15 to 20 minutes are dedicated to ensuring the patient undergoes a safe surgery by making them feel comfortable before hooking them to the respective monitors.
So what happens when the patient is admitted to the hospital? We do some blood tests, we examine. If we need to do any images, we do. And then the patient is prepared, the guardian gives consent to come to theatre, and then the patient is brought to the theatre, they are received.
And then because when we operate the patients, we would have asked them to starve, we also ensure that we are giving them intravenous fluids so that that compensates for the period of starvation so that they are not dehydrated.
The surgeons here tell us they must ensure the patient does not experience any form of pain. Hence, he will be sedated, in this case, the use of a special gas since the patient is a minor, while for adults, injections of anesthetic drugs are used. Dr. Praxidis Okutoi is a pediatric anesthetist at the Kenyatta National Hospital.
So it's about loss of consciousness, maintenance of physiological function, maintenance of a pain-free situation, and reversal of the anesthetic state into normal state.
When it's all systems go, the surgery now begins. Dr. Caroline Mwende is one of the pediatric surgeons operating on this patient and now gives us a brief summary of what takes place on the operating table.
So when you're doing the hernia operation, depending on the site, whether it's the inguinal or the umbilical, the aim is to close the defect that is within the muscle. So we go in, we get the defect, we close it, and then that's the operation is done.
The risk of mortalities from elective hernia surgery is as low as 0.1 to 0.5%.
These cases, we see them quite often. What happens is that most of the time we get to operate of them as an elective case. An elective case means it's not an emergency. The patient just walks into the hospital at a specific period that we had already planned for. But when they complicate, though, they do come in as emergencies.
A hernia occurs when a piece of tissue swells through an area of the body due to a combination of pressure and an opening or weakness of a muscle. Types of hernias include those affecting the abdominal wall, thighs, intestines, umbilical cord, and surgical cuts.
After kitovu venye likatika, nikamrudisha hospitali Pumwani, wakaniambia maybe nimlete huku. So huku ndio sasa nikaanza clinic, ikaenda ikipungua, but ikafika mahali kasemekana lazima ifanyiwe surgery. Ndio ikuwe sasa ipone kabisa.
Those with the condition are likely to experience pain in the affected area whenever they laugh or cough due to the pressure on the abdominal wall, causing abdominal pains and vomiting.
Akicheka kilio ilikuwa na furafura, na ndio kitovu ilikuwa ni kama na pump kama bora. Ilikuwa na pump. So tukaona hii kitu yenyewe inaweza kuwa serious. Ndio sasa tukachukua hiyo jukumu.
Kitovu ndio inafura sometime, akilia inafura, akikuwa na njaa inafura.
So the time alikuwa mkubwa, kitofu ukishikashika ilikuwa soft.
There exists complicated hernia like the incarcerated hernia, which occurs when protruding tissue can't be pushed back into place, causing constant pressure or discomfort on a person's body. The other dangerous type of hernia is the strangulated hernia, which is a medical emergency that emerges due to lack of blood supply in the bulging area.
So when you're getting this complication, it means the organ here, being the intestine, has gotten into the hernia and it has gotten stuck in there. So this is an emergency, and this one we have to work on immediately.
Hernia and undescended testes are congenital conditions which develop when the fetus is still in the womb. For the undescended testes, the condition is serious, especially if the patient is not treated on time.
The risks that can come about having this undescended include injury to the testes because it's not in the scrotum. You can also develop fertility problems later in life, and then there's also the risk of developing testicular cancer.
For now, people have been urged to avoid the congenital conditions by maintaining weight to avoid pressure on the abdominal wall. Those smoking are advised to quit. It is also recommended that we refrain from straining when lifting weights, especially for those who have gone through abdominal surgery. We are also advised to eat high-fiber diet and drink a lot of water to prevent constipation.
More than 35 Kenyan children under the age of 13 years have since benefited from the 3-day free annual hernia surgery offered right here at the Kenyatta National Hospital. However, not all hope is lost for the over 70 registered children left, as the hospital seeks to reach out to as more Kenyans as possible so as to avert any future occurrences. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47 from the Kenyatta National Hospital Main Theatre, Nairobi.
Right, thank you for that, Elizabeth Atieno. Now to the wonderful world of sports. John Legirma of the Railways Golf Club and Michael Karanga of the Kiambu Golf Club were earlier today in fine form as they recorded similar results of 72 points at the third day of the Railways Invitational Golf Tournament. The two professional golfers are embroiled in a serious battle of the leaderboard, trying in the first position on a gross total of 142 points, each as they target to walk away with the prize kitty of 400,000 Kenyan shillings. 32 players made the cut ahead of the final day of the competition, expected to take shape Sunday afternoon.
Able to put together a 3-day event that we had a total of 73 elite amateurs from around the country, one from Uganda as well, and the 73 amateurs are battling it out to make it to the cut. The cut will take the top 32. Overall winner will be pleasantly surprised, taking home more than 100,000 Kenya shillings as prize money.
And Kenya Police earlier today leaped to the 4th position on the league standings on 52 points after playing out to a goalless draw with FC Talanta in the match week 29 tie of the FKF Premier League at the Nyayo National Stadium. The KG match saw both sides failing to hit the target and taking the lead as they were forced to share the spoils at the end of 90 minutes that saw Police tie on 50 points with KCBFC on the standings. However, a superior goal difference gave them the advantage over the Bunkers. 8 more matches have been lined up for action in match week 29 of the league in various stadia across the country Sunday afternoon, with the crunch fixture of the weekend pitting FC Leopards against Nzoia Sugar at the Nyayo National Stadium.
Kwanza kwa Mwenyezi Mungu. Pili, pongezi kwa vijana wa timu zote mbili, zimecheza mpira mzuri. Wenzetu ambapo imekuwa kama ni washatuzoea, maana kila mara nasikia huwa matokeo yanakuwa hivyo. So mimi kile nitasema ni game ya chances, maana tumecreate chances nyingi, first half zimekataa kuingia. Ndo vijana bado na ya kufanya mengi, maana ukiangalia striking force yetu bado tunafunga, hatuna consistency. So inabidi mimi kama kocha niwe kidogo na kazi ya kufanya, maana ukiangalia
mimi nafikiri kwamba kitu ya kwanza team Police wako na top players in the Kenya Premier League. I respect them, but nafikiri vile approach yetu ilikuwa